Welcome to Match Play, where every episode starts with a spark and ends with insight that can only come from personal experience at the highest level. Let's tee up some good conversation. I'm Thad Miller, and welcome back to Match Play. Today's conversation is about legacy, family, and scaling in one of the oldest professions in the world. Our guest, Mr. Jim Harger, is a second-generation farmer who recently chose to sell the farm, which in addition to premium land, it was made up of a highly successful operating business, his equipment and seed processing operations. While retaining the real estate assets that are more long-term, his land and his real estate he's keeping and developing. This story happens on a farm, but doesn't belong only to agriculture. Every industry has its own version of iron, the tools, the systems, the teams, and responsibilities that help you succeed. And every successful operator eventually faces the same question. Who am I if I step away from the thing that relies on me every day? This story is about transition, not walking away, but stepping back. So we start every episode. Jim, thanks for being here. I love it that you took the time to be here.
Okay.
All right.
Great. Glad to be here.
So we start with a literal match strike. When the flame burns, I'll ask a few rapid fire questions. When the flame goes out, we'll get into deeper conversation. Okay, here we go. All right. So when I think of farming, I think of a good cup of coffee. Do you like Starbucks coffee or do you like regular truck stop coffee?
I'll stop at Starbucks occasionally.
All right, there we go.
Never to the truck stop.
Favorite piece of equipment you've ever owned?
9500 combine. It replaced two other combines and set the stage for bigger scale farming.
Wow. And then best crop year, that guy went quick, but best crop year you'll never forget.
2008.
2008.
2008.
Wow. Right before the recession, really.
Yes, yeah, the recession. We were recession proof from that.
Exactly.
That wasn't bothering us.
Absolutely.
And yeah.
And then early mornings or late harvest nights, what do you prefer?
Both, because you can't get away from it. You plant in the early mornings, you harvest late at night. It's wet in the fall and in the early days or hours of the fall, so you don't have a choice. You get them both.
You get them both, and you deal with what you got,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
All right. So today's guest didn't just stop when he inherited the farm. He built it, expanded it, and scaled responsibility beyond his own land. By integrating seed processing into the business, he became a resource to others. So tell us just a little bit about the business. At its peak, what were you doing?
I thought about the business from an aspect, if you'd look at it in the form of football quarters even, that I entered it probably in the middle of the second quarter.
Okay.
My dad had started the business and was processing and growing seed corn. He actually grew his first crop of corn in 1936.
Really?
And he advanced through a very crude corn drying system that was dried with coal, and the floors were made of wood. It was all wood structure until we went into what I would call a modern day dryer.
Okay. But you had a farm, you had land that was farmed.
He was farming.
Uh-huh.
We were farming component. We were in the seed business. We were in contract production of seed corn.
Okay.
In that time frame, there were probably 700 to 800 production growers throughout the country.
Okay.
Today, there's maybe 20.
Wow. So it's totally consolidated down to the
Totally consolidated.
Yeah.
And I was in that early part of it. And as I came in, I'd been enamored with growing up on the farm, driving the equipment and all this type of thing. And I grew up with the evolvement of mechanization of agriculture, the industrialization of agriculture. We went from 120 horsepower tractors to 600, 700 horsepower tractors.
All during your time.
All during that time frame. The combines were The first combines I saw were 5 and 6 foot grain platforms that were pulled by a tractor. We go with the 45 foot grain tables.
Wow.
And a 12 row corn head, and you can even get the 16 row corn head. The machines cost $1 million.
Right. Right.
So it's a huge transformation, and every farmer, and the average size of the farm when I started was probably 160 to 240 acres was a viable farm size.
Right. And at peak, what was the size of your operation as far as acres?
We were about 2,800 acres, but our processing business was clearly over half of our business, and it was the most profitable side of our business. And as we evolved, you have a tendency to move to where the profit is.
Exactly.
And so there were several things that happened in this time frame. And 1972 was a pivotal year, and because we had a crop failure of soybean seed in the Midwest, and that was in central Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. And so a seed company came to me, Callahan Seed. We were already processing some seed for them, but they came and said, "How would you like to process 70, 80,000 bushels of soybeans through your corn plant?" Okay, we had a cleaner and a system that we could haul that stuff off and bag the product.
Right.
So I said, fine. We brought it in and we handled it in, it was very crude the way we handled the first part, the seed that year.
Right.
We processed 80,000 bushel of soybeans. And the soybeans came from Nebraska, Iowa, and even extreme western Illinois. They brought in on on trucks that hauled steel. As I said, the handling of it was very crude equipment. And Callahan said, "Why don't you build a soybean processing plant? We could process beans every year. We'll give you a 15, 20-year contract." Okay, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
I'm looking for opportunity. So in 1973, we built a soybean plant. And it was, again, a tower plant, and it had 4 bins attached to it, and it was a lot more efficient. And but it wasn't the efficiency that we ended up with, because it was an evolving process mechanically, and we were under construction for the next 20 years.
Yeah. So you evolved from there to at the end. How much were you processing before you sold?
Under that first plant, I think we processed like 120,000 bushel.
Okay.
When we finished up, we were processing 450,000 bushel a year. And then the other piece of it is, this doesn't go into the seed corn world because we were drying seed corn. And we built seed corn dryers, and we were also drying from 15 to 1,700 bushel. That doesn't sound right. No, 15 to 17,000 bushel of corn a year. 170. It was quite a lot of corn.
Quite the operation.
Quite a lot of corn.
Right. In addition, you farmed the land. You owned some land.
In addition, we farmed. We had cattle. We'd given up on hogs. That was too labor intensive, and
it smelled pretty bad.
A little odor. And but we had a waste product from the shucks that came in on the seed corn, and that's what we fed to the cattle.
Okay.
So we had an efficiency there, but we had 150 cows at one time, and we'd keep the calves and feed them out.
Right.
And so we were in the beef business, and pretty vertical integration, and it just happened.
It evolved. The business evolved into new verticals.
Yep, and it wasn't planned. The main thing I can tell you, my father was an outstanding bookkeeper. He'd been a school teacher. He kept immaculate records, and he settled with landlords, and other people settled to the penny. And we always followed that, and we still keep good records.
Well, that's important for selling a business, because if they come in and you have good records, it's a critical piece. That keeps coming up on this podcast, how important that is.
Absolutely a critical piece to it.
Yeah.
But you've got all the federal requirements and all the you've just got to comply with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got to do the whole package.
Yeah.
And or you won't sleep.
No halfway. There's no halfway. There's no cruise control. I talk about that in business.
No.
So, okay. So, all right, you obviously evolved over time. Where did you feel pressure to honor tradition versus push forward? Like, where were you like, okay, we've got to do this to make us maybe, less vulnerable to a terrible crop type thing?
Well, in the evolvement process, our agriculture, where I said we were farming 2,800 acres, that was in Hamilton County.
Mm-hmm.
But I was doing contract production in Tipton and Madison County.
Okay.
And that was to spread weather risk, because you have different weather. It's not a great big spread, but it is a spread. You also have a fertility change. I could go up there and make a great arrangement with farmers and farm their ground, and they'd have extremely good fertility in their soils. And we were getting great production out of those areas.
And that obviously fed your business accordingly. So this vertical integration was
and brought the production into the plant.
So obviously becoming the operator that others relied on, when did you realize this business was bigger than just your own operation?
Well, when you saw it, and you go to the National Seed Trade Convention at Chicago, and you'd see the vendors and all the people there. And I was contracting, by the way, out of state. I was contracting with Thule's. I was contracting with Osgold in Iowa. So an interesting thing, I always thought I was an introvert. And I realized that somebody had to be a salesman around here. And I said, okay, well, we better find, I think that hat's going to go on me.
Right.
I couldn't see anybody else doing it. And so anyway, I had to learn how to do those functions and promote my business. Mm-hmm. And that's what I did.
Yeah.
And I got off the tractors very early in this career. That was, I didn't want to be paid as a tractor driver. I wanted to be paid as the owner operator.
Exactly.
And so that's what we did.
Well, that speaks to, any business, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
You've got to pull yourself out of sometimes the manual labor and do more of the mental labor, right?
Well, you've always got
the voice labor, the sales labor, right?
Every morning there was always 2 important hours of the day, my dad told me. That's the first hour in the morning, the first hour after lunch, because that's when you give everybody instructions and they go forward and do their jobs. Mm-hmm. And that was correct. And so you did that.
It's kind of like a football game, like before the game speech and then your halftime speech, right?
Absolutely. just exactly like it. Right. Yeah. And the interesting thing was I had an opportunity, and we'd laid the groundwork with Beck's operation, Beck's Hybrids at Atlanta, Indiana. Sonny Beck's a good friend, mm-hmm. and a great seedsman. They are the 3rd largest seed company in the country now.
Absolutely.
And I was working full time for them in the end, for the last 25, 30 years.
Right.
All my work was through them. And I want to tell you what, it was just an absolutely marvelous arrangement. They came in, I was getting ready to renew contract, and they said, we think we'd like to make a change. We'd like to lease your facility instead of make another contract. We think we can operate it better than you can. And I said, okay. So I went on, and then I got to thinking, well, I'm not going to employ all these people that I have, because I had 9 full-time employees, 3 or 4 part-time. that was all involved with processing soybeans in the winter. I said, I'm not going to be doing that. So I'm not going to be, who's going to take care of the cattle in the farm? And I thought, no, I'm not going to try to be just a big farmer in Hamilton County. That's not a goal. I've achieved too much. And I was 78 at the time.
Right.
So I said, no, I think we'll do something different. So we made arrangements. This all happened in 1 week. This was a Monday. Tuesday, we signed the contract. Wednesday, I took a pause and made some phone calls. Thursday, I talked to Schrader. We had a big farm sale. Sold 10 trucks, six or seven tractors, a combine, the whole kit and caboodle.
Right.
And in the meantime, I'd made arrangements and got rid of the cattle. And
This all happened in a week.
This all happened in a week. And on a Friday, I made arrangements. The family suggested to me, and I made arrangements for with Halderman Farm Management Service to actually manage the farms, the leasing, and what we held. But we retained our personal property. It's just what I was giving up was the ground that I either leased or rented by shares.
And the equipment that was there, the assets that were there.
And the assets, they were gone. They were sold.
Right.
And that all just made sense. You come to a conclusion.
Clean break.
Nothing else to do. Clean
Right.
break. And so I went to Florida for the winter, came home, and I was to operate the processing plant with my people through till May 1st.
Right.
And so we'd come home from Florida, and people still run around, but there's just no equipment there. And I'd go out, and I had them take all the fence rows out of the farm.
Right.
At the time, because whoever else, and I'd selected, and Chad Galloway is farming the farm. And I said, he's going to want to farm from fence row to fence row with no fence rows at all. And so we cleaned all those out. And
well, and let me ask you too. Obviously, this happened very quickly.
Yeah.
How tied up to your identity did this change? How did that affect you emotionally?
It was fine from a mental aspect of a proper decision to make. It was pretty devastating to me individually, emotionally.
Yeah.
And I was totally tied up in my identity to it. And I was going to tell you, I came back in, and in May I went out there and I says, well, where's my people?
Uh-huh.
I don't have any people. There's nobody reporting in to go to the shop. And so that was a huge adjustment.
Yeah.
And I want to tell you, it took a couple of years to really make that transition.
Yeah.
And
do you think it was because it was such a quick transition, or do you think it just you never thought ahead on it?
Both. Both.
Okay.
And I would tell anyone that I'd never thought about my own mortality and the fact that someday I won't be doing this.
Yeah.
That day isn't here.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it was here.
Yeah.
And so I would tell anyone they need to understand there will be an end, and there will be a time when you'll want it to end. And my family was raised. My wife had retired. And so what am I going to do? And so I had good friends. I did a lot of shooting, sporting clays. And so that's what I still do.
Right. And we're going to get a tip on that here in a little bit. We got for any sporting clay shooters on the listening in, we're going to get a good tip because this man's a pro.
Well, it's a great sport, and and started out basically from the farm because we had quail. I was a quail hunter.
Exactly.
And we had quail all over the place in Hamilton County till they froze out in 1978, and we still had quail. I had bird dogs for 50 years.
Yeah. And
when they were finally gone, the quail were gone, the bird dogs are gone, and So now we're just shooting sporting clays.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And
You killed all the quail. You got to move on to
well, it's a lot simpler process and a lot easier on the legs.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So I want to get into a few things on letting go. You sold all your equipment. Did you sell that to multiple people?
Oh.
Or was that?
It's the most exciting thing you've ever seen, to go to a farm sale. The auction lasted 4 hours, and I mean,
Auctioneer and everything.
Auctioneer, Schrader, they are professional. And my wife and I were in the back of a pickup truck on a cat and a crew cab back there, or whatever it was, where they were running the auction from.
Yeah.
They had a guy sitting in there doing the online component, because we had a big tractor go to North Dakota.
Yeah.
And this type thing. And it's amazing how much money they have. It's on the coldest day in December, the 12th, and it was 20 degrees, and it was a cold 20 degrees.
Yeah.
The wind was blowing.
Yeah.
And all guys in Carhartts and this type thing, and they'd hold up their signs. You'd always wonder, well, you suppose they got any money? Oh, yeah. Don't ever ask that at a farm sale.
Right. They're coming. They got money. They
got,
some of it's in their pocket.
They're
going to pay cash.
And
so keeping the operation. So right now you sold the production plant, you sold the equipment, you still own the land, and what are you doing with the land today? So what's going forward?
It transitioned mentally, and I've made this transition.
Mm-hmm.
But as I'm a real estate holding company is what we are now.
Yeah.
We're in the real estate business.
That's great.
And we're in Hamilton County, and we still have 600 and some acres there. I was fortunate enough that Beck Hybrids wanted to buy the processing end of it. They had 4 warehouses, a dryer, and a bunch of grain bins that would suit, and it's 20 miles from home.
Right.
So those are being utilized. They're still there. They haven't been torn down. I don't see a bunch of high rises or apartments where my operation used to be.
Right.
And I still have a shop and office that I go to every day.
Are you selective on what that land's going to look like in your head?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No. As the real estate transition makes, I mean, and looking at Hamilton County, that's not in my dream.
Yeah.
I have no idea what's going to be there.
Yeah.
It could be housing. It could be commercial. We're so close to town. We have the gas, natural gas. We have electricity. There's a lot of things could happen there.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. Okay. So farming obviously has its seasons.
Oh, yeah.
My dad's a golf pro.
Right.
Retired golf professional. So, in the winter, his job was fixing his equipment, getting the golf carts ready, playing some hearts. In the spring, it was fertilizing. In the spring, summer, fall was golf. That's when they made money. And then he would store all his chestnuts to get him through till the next spring. Are you still in that season? Are you still in right now, it's the middle of the winter. In your mind, are you?
I still follow the seasons. I lived it
That's what I mean.
For 70 years.
Yeah.
And, but I go by it and I watch other people struggling or making their efforts to do their planting and their harvest and their seasonal work. And sure, but I can observe it from the side. That doesn't bother me at all. I'm past that emotional part of it.
Okay. So, some final reflections. So your exit went very quickly, obviously, but you had somebody that you trusted that you'd been working with for years. It's almost like you had a bit of a vision on who it was going to be. It was just, when was it going to happen?
Yes.
What advice would you give when people are thinking about selling their business? What advice would you give them?
Well, you're going to have to think it through. I was fortunate from an aspect that it happened. Mm-hmm. Because I had built the right program there, built the right facilities that were desirable. Mm-hmm. And So you've got to build the right business so that you can sell it on. You don't, and matter of fact, it's kind of interesting because some of the real estate chunks we have, one of them's over 300 acres in one chunk. That's a big chunk for anyone to take down.
Absolutely.
So then you got to figure out how you're going to market that. So that's a whole different strategy and a whole different world. There's other people to do that. And I got good people helping there.
So get people to help you. Try not to do it on your own.
Absolutely. Yeah. You always count on people. You're not your own doctor. You're not your own lawyer. You're not your own real estate agent in this kind of a fast moving world. And
well said.
Yeah.
That's wise. That's very wise. So, all right. Well, we're going to wrap things up here. Normally we have a golf tip, but you are a single digit handicap when it comes to sporting clays.
Yes.
So we're going to go there. So before we wrap up, I'd love to know, instead of a golf trip, give us a tip on sporting clays. Like, what are a tip you'd give to somebody about being more efficient?
The single most important tip is look at the bird, look at where you want to break it, program your hold point, and then when you call pull, look at the bird and let your hands will take you to the bird. Follow the bird and pull the trigger.
Hands will take you to the bird.
Hands will take you to the bird. Yeah. Your head and hands can do that better. Don't think it. Don't be thinking when you're in the box. Just let it happen.
Love it. Yeah. That's great. Well, Jim, thank you. This has been wonderful. I really have enjoyed it, sharing your story about leadership, identity, evolution. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in to Match Play, and we'll see you next round.
Thank you. Well, cool.